You wouldn't know it by just looking at them. There's no gold watch glinting on their wrist, no giant logo screaming from their shirt. They don't interrupt people to make a point. They don't walk into rooms demanding to be noticed. In fact, if you saw them quietly waiting in line at the grocery store, you'd probably assume they're just normal. But they're not. They're the kind of people who own more than they show, not just in money, but in calm, in self-control, in the rare kind of confidence that doesn't need to shout to be heard. And none of this is by accident. The wealthy, the truly wealthy, go out of their way to stay invisible. Not because they're afraid, but because they've learned something most people never do. Silence is power. Blending in gives you more control than standing out ever could. There's something almost elegant about it. When you've reached a point in life where you no longer need to prove anything, you stop performing. You stop reaching for approval. You just live quietly, freely, and on your own terms. But here's the twist. This isn't just a habit of the rich. It's a strategy, a skill. And if you understand why they live this way, you'll see exactly why you should too. Because in today's world, being loud is expensive. It attracts attention you don't want. It builds expectations you can't keep. And worst of all, it traps you in a game that rewards appearance over reality. The rich don't play that game anymore. They already won it. And they walked away, quietly. For years we were told that wealth had to be shown. That success only counted if the world could see it. But something has changed. People are waking up, realizing how fragile that illusion really is. A person can lease the car, borrow the image, fake the title. But true wealth, the kind that doesn't need validation, has nothing to prove. The rich avoid attention because today, attention isn't an asset. It's a liability. When you look rich, people start expecting things from you. Friends start asking, strangers start scheming, governments start questioning, and predators, both social and financial, start circling, looking for a way in. It's not about hiding. It's about protecting what matters. You'll see this in small, subtle ways. The wealthiest person in the room, usually not the one talking. They're the one listening, watching, letting everyone else exhaust themselves trying to impress. Because when you already know what you have, you don't need to announce it. You don't need a stage, you need clarity. You need space, freedom to move. And here's where this becomes something you can use. No matter how much money you have, the habit of staying unnoticed is one of the most powerful skills anyone can learn. When you stop racing for approval, everything changes. You start thinking clearer. You spend smarter. You keep more of your money, more of your peace, and more of your time. You stop comparing. You stop rushing. You stop performing. You start building. That's where real wealth begins. Take someone like Ray. He works a quiet, remote job, lives in a small, simple home. No debt, no noise. You'd never guess it, but behind that calm smile, he owns 3 rental properties and a dividend portfolio paying him every month. He doesn't brag. He doesn't flaunt. He just lives free. Then there's Alyssa. Once, she spent every cent trying to look like the life she saw online. The perfect outfits, the shiny dinners, the flawless lifestyle. But after the burnout, after nearly breaking down financially, she chose a new path. She sold her car, moved somewhere smaller, took a remote consulting job. Now she earns more, spends less, and no longer needs to impress anyone. Her life isn't loud anymore, but it's peaceful and richer than ever. People wouldn't call her rich, but she is. Not because she's swimming in money, but because she escaped the trap of being seen. In today's world, being low-key is the new luxury. Being unbothered is the new status. And privacy, that's the new power move. It's why the rich skip flashy neighborhoods. Why they wear neutral colors. Why they'll sit in coach, drive regular cars, and never care who's watching. Because when you don't look like money, you get to keep more of it. You stay free from inflated expectations. You protect your peace. And most importantly, you stay focused. But the need to be seen, that's what keeps most people broke. They spend too much, stretch too far, try too hard. Not because they're bad with money, but because they're scared of looking like less. And that fear is expensive. It never ends. But once you detach your self-worth from your net worth, everything shifts. You start realizing something powerful. Looking average isn't weakness, it's control. You start moving differently, quietly, strategically. You stop trying to look like success and start becoming it. That's the secret game the rich are playing, and anyone can play it. You don't need millions to start. You just need awareness. Awareness that not every shirt needs a logo. Not every raise needs a lifestyle upgrade. Not every victory needs a post online. And not every success needs to be seen to be real. The less you show, the more you grow. The rich don't hide because they're shy. They stay quiet because they understand the cost of attention. They'd rather own than owe. They'd rather grow than perform, and that might just be the richest mindset of all. So maybe it's time to redefine wealth. Maybe it's not about how loud your life is, but how little noise it takes to make you feel at peace. Here's something else the rich know deeply. The fewer people who know what you're building, the stronger your foundation becomes. Because when too many eyes are watching, every step becomes a performance. You start living for reactions, not results. And in that spotlight, it's easy to lose yourself. Easy to trade long-term peace for short-term applause. Easy to chase noise instead of progress. But when you build quietly, something changes. You stop rushing. You stop proving. You start protecting. You become more intentional with your time, more selective with your energy, more careful with who gets access to your life. Not because you're hiding, but because you're growing. You don't owe anyone an explanation. You don't have to share every win, every plan, every move. And when you stop doing that, something magical happens. You start valuing the work itself, not the reaction to it. You start enjoying the process, not the performance. You stop trying to impress people who were never clapping for you anyway. Privacy becomes clarity. Simplicity becomes leverage. Peace becomes wealth. Because some things are too valuable to be seen by everyone. Not because they're secret, but because they're sacred. Sometimes the richest move you can make is making none at all. At least, not where everyone can see it. Maybe the real flex isn't what people see, but what they'll never guess. In a world addicted to showing off, choosing silence becomes power. Quiet power, the kind that doesn't explain itself, the kind that moves in shadows and lets results speak years later. That's how real wealth protects itself. It doesn't run to the spotlight. It walks past it, calm and steady. When you're not chasing attention, you're free to focus on what actually matters. Your family, your health, your freedom, your peace of mind. All the things that make life feel full, not just look full. You have time to think, time to breathe, time to choose. And that freedom, the freedom to decide without pressure, without eyes watching your every step, that's worth more than any luxury purchase. It gives you the power to design a life that fits you, not one that performs well for others. And if people underestimate you, let them. That's the gift of being unnoticed. You get to build without distraction. You get to rise without being watched. You get to win, quietly. Because the best kind of wealth doesn't need applause. It doesn't need validation. It just needs patience, clarity, and the courage to grow in silence long enough to last. So if you ever feel like you're behind just because you don't look successful, pause. Success isn't always loud. It doesn't always glitter. Sometimes it's a calm home, a paid-off car, a quiet evening with nothing urgent to do. Sometimes it's just waking up without anxiety or saying no without fear. You're not behind. You're just walking a quieter road, one that might not get attention today, but will speak volumes for the rest of your life. Because here's the truth. No one can measure the value of what they can't see. And that's your greatest advantage. So stay low, stack quiet, move with grace, grow in the shadows. And when the time is right, let your results introduce you. Because when no one's watching, that's when you're finally free.